Hello and welcome to Belly Dance Practice Tips for Busy People with Lisa Jean. I am here today to share another tip to help you get the most out of your belly dance practice. What we're going to talk about today is what to practice. This is a big one that seems like it should be really self-explanatory, but it's often not. We plan our practice, we schedule it, we get there, we're ready to go, and then it's like, what am I supposed to do? What do I practice? Without having a teacher in front of us say, okay, now we're going to do this. You have to come up with it on your own. So let's come up with some ways to help you figure out what to practice. But not just practice anything. We want you to practice the things that you need to work on to help you really level up your dancing. So one of my favorite tips is to get a practice notebook. You can make a section of notes on your phone. You can get out a spiral notebook, a notepad, whatever works for you. I personally am a pen and paper kind of person. That's what works for me. So this is going to be your practice notebook. Whenever you come up with something that you're like, oh, I could stand to work on this, we're going to write it down in that notebook. So how do we figure out what we need to work on? Let's start with our classes. So more than likely, you're taking class somewhere. You're either taking class in person, online, doesn't matter, or maybe you're taking pre-recorded videos, doesn't matter. You're in class. The teacher might come up to you to give you feedback. Hey, we're working on this new move. Try this. Like maybe we could tweak this to make this move work a little better. Then you know, this is something that I need to practice. So as soon as your class is done, or if you can, run over to your notebook real quick, write it down, or wait till the end of class. If there's something that you're working on in class, and even if the teacher doesn't say anything to you, or if you're doing like a pre-recorded class, you might get done and be like, holy cow, that was hard. Like, I do not feel like I mastered that. Then you know that that is something you need to practice. And it might be a drill, it might be a combo, it might be a choreography. It might not even be the whole choreography. It might be just like a little combo out of a choreography. Maybe. Anytime that you find yourself struggling with something when you're in a structured practice situation like a class, those are things you know that, I can practice those at home. And I have found that if I don't write it down, I will not remember it in 2, 3 days' time when I get ready to practice, right? So as soon as it pops into your brain, write it down into this notebook. So that way when it's time to practice, you can pull out your notebook and be like, what do I need to practice on? Even better, what I like to do is maybe at the beginning of the week, maybe on Saturday or Sunday, I'll sit down and I'll think about my practicing because I'm already thinking about scheduling my practicing, right? Thinking about how many times during the week I'm going to practice, what time during the day. I can also start to plan what I'm going to practice. So I like to sit down before I'm even ready to practice. I like to sit down and get out my notebook and pick out anywhere from 1 to 3 things that this is what I want to work on this week. I want to work on this section of choreography. I want to work on this new move that we learned in class that I really struggled with. So you're going to pick out 1 to 3 things. You can't pick out too many because otherwise you're going to get overwhelmed and you're going to come right back to that, I don't know what I need to practice because I need to practice all the things. If you only have a list of 1 to 3 things, it's much easier to pick out what you're going to do. So when it's time to practice, maybe you've already written in your notebook, the first week of May, I'm going to work on this particular shimmy layer and this little section of choreography. So then every time you practice that week, you know the 2 things that you're going to work on. This has helped me so much because oftentimes, like, I get out of class and I know what I struggled with, and then I get to when it's time to practice and I totally can't remember. It's like being put on the spot, right? As soon as somebody like puts the camera on you, you're like, I don't know. So we want to take lots of notes so we can go back and use those notes to help us identify what we need to practice. Super simple, super easy, but it's often something that we don't think about that can be really helpful to turning your practices from just a fluff practice that gets you moving and is nice, but doesn't really move the needle forward. By pinpointing the specific things that we're struggling with and need to work on, we can make our practices super duper laser focused so we can really work on leveling up our dancing. Let me know what you think of this idea. If you have a notebook that you keep your belly dance practice ideas in, I would love to see it. If you have an idea of how you're going to plan what you're going to practice, I would love to hear it. Please share it with me. And be sure to follow, like, and subscribe to my channel here on YouTube for more belly dance practice tips for busy people with Lisa Jean.